Mr. Matt McQuillen. Some of you might know Matt as the co-city organizer of Pajokcha Night, my partner in crime here with this event. But what you might not know about Matt is that he is a local government nerd, and he is sick and tired of the feds giving government a bad time, giving all types of government a bad time. So let's give Matt a big round of applause.
Go for it, Michael. All right, so how many people got like hives when you saw this picture? Reminding about election 2014. And what I'm here, it's a nonpartisan look of why the federal government gives government a bad name and give you a good argument of why you should care about government, particularly at the local level. So I'm not trying to scare you with any of this, but the next slide might scare you even more. These faces are very familiar to all of us. In fact, they probably, for a time, you saw these faces more than you saw your own friends and family for a while. And it was pretty terrifying, and this spun over into commercials, of course, commercials all over the place, to the point where you couldn't even watch the news without every commercial break having an ad all the way through. I'm a big Tonight Show fan, Jimmy Fallon fan. Thankfully, we have DVR because I could not watch the Tonight Show because the ads even continued on into one of my favorite shows. And it was amazing how happy I was to see Buy Gold commercials start showing up again in November because of these ads. How many of you felt like this guy? By the time you got to the end of October, whether it was TV, online, heck, I listened to Pandora, there was ads on Pandora half the time. So now you're really, you know, screwing up my jam when you're messing the music up with political advertisements. $3.7 billion is what was spent on the 2014 elections. Put a little context for you about what else as Americans we spend in a year on other things. We almost got close to the amount of money we spent on bicycles with the amount of money we spent in this last election. And what did we, and to put that even into kind of more context, a school lunch costs about $2.08 national average in this country. We could have bought every school kid in this country 23 lunches with that $3.7 billion. We could have fixed over 1,000 miles of road in this country with $3.7 billion. So you want to get a pretty good return on your investment for that amount of money. Well, what did we get? We get this. So you get some of the lowest satisfaction ratings for Congress, the presidency, and even the Supreme Court, which that one kind of surprised me when I saw this graph that they're even down there. So we're not really getting much return on our investment in terms of our own one of that $3.7 billion. And part of that is with Congress. This Congress that just finished is the least productive Congress in 20 years. They passed the least amount of significant legislation. And they were also out of session as much as they were in session. So you kind of hard. So what happens when you're not really doing any work? Things don't get done that are important for the community. So what's happened, because things aren't getting done, we're now 24th in literacy, we're 33rd in internet speed. Heck, we invented the internet and we're 33rd in internet speed. 17th in educational performance, and we've dropped in infrastructure rankings over the last 5 years. So clearly we're not getting our return on investment. So that's kind of my argument of why the federal government is kind of giving government a bad name. As somebody who works in government, that kind of gets kind of pushed down to all the rest of us. So when I'm here, it's not all doom and gloom. You know, you got the happy smile here. There is some bright signs that I want to talk to you about in terms of government. It's the things that are happening at your local level. And I'm going to kind of talk about some of the reasons why. So when you look at satisfaction, so we talked about federal government before. Now when you look at local government and state government, local government is number one. Most citizen satisfaction surveys that are done in communities, they ask, you know, what do you like more, your local government, state government, federal government? Their local governments are always ranked really high. You might say, well, why is that? Why is that? Part of it is services like you see on the screen. They matter to us. We care about it. It's what keeps us safe. It's what allows us to drive to our jobs on safe roadways every day. It makes sure our utility systems are functioning properly. We care about that. That's how we live life every day. But some of the other things you don't think about necessarily is the quality of life services, the trails that we use, the playgrounds, the libraries. Those are all provided by local government resources. So these are things that we use in our everyday life. And so there's that connection where we in local government to provide those services to people where they see it, they touch it, they feel it, and the federal government is so removed, whereas local governments provide opportunities and spaces for things like community festivals like you see here, where people are given the opportunity to build community with in-person connections. And so government is, you know, functioning pretty well at the local level, and so I'm just trying to kind of emphasize that the federal government kind of gets the bad rap, but hopefully it doesn't filter down to your perception of other governments. And also, you know, the houses that you live in or the apartments that you live in, local governments make sure those are built safe and sound. And the other part of it too is a lot of these people that deliver these services to you live right next door. They live in the same communities they serve, so they care about what they're doing for their community. You want to make sure that the water's coming out of that tap. That is safe to drink. You do not want to be like this couple in the lower right. There is no citizen that's more angry when they have shit in their basement. I have dealt with those people before, and it's not fun, and I don't blame them. There's no worse feeling than that. And also, you know, emergency response, you know, you hear a lot of talk when big emergencies or disasters happen about FEMA and their response. A lot of times the federal government doesn't show up until like 48 hours into an incident. So local government are the first responders and pretty much on their own for those first 48 hours and really take care of a lot of these issues. The other great thing about local government is you can be a part of it, whether it's citizens boards or commissions. There's plenty of opportunities at the local level for you to serve, whether it's a library board or a parks board. It's very easy in your community to get involved at the kind of the government decision-making level, and then maybe eventually even think about running for elected office. But also, you got the government side, but then you also have the volunteer side, where there's tons of community organizations that are supported by local governments or supported on their own that you can volunteer on Earth Day to plant a tree or other things. So it's one of those things where there's a lot of opportunity for you to get involved in your community, and I encourage it. So what I kind of want to leave with you in terms of talking and thinking about government, particularly at the local level, is it's very citizen-based. So I want to end with a quote from Margaret Mead. "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Thank you very much.